Clinton and John Podesta, who they actually set up a meeting with. In spite of all of this Donald Trump Jr. meeting with the Russians, this next story, let's just hope it buries them for good. Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit reports that the Hillary Clinton campaign colluded, you ready for it, with the Chinese ambassador. Now, of course, he writes, too bad only Republican collusion is not allowed. The conservative Sean Hannity tweeted out today the WikiLeaks document that shows, here's the Hannity tweet, is this collusion? So he's tweeting out the WikiLeaks document that shows the Clinton campaign discussing a private off-the-record meeting with the ambassador. He asked the question, is this collusion? Pointing to the tweet from WikiLeaks right here about the private meeting. Okay, this is a private meeting that was going to take place in the home of Kurt Campbell, where Campbell would provide chili and cornbread to Podesta. The email was sent from Kurt Campbell in early 2016. And here's another follow-up. Second email communication, Chinese ambassador. Here's the actual email here. It was sent from Kurt Campbell in early 2016 to Clinton team members John Podesta, Laura Rosenberger, Jake Sullivan, and others. It reads, guys, Chinese ambassador invited me over to the residence Tuesday for coffee and to make a request. He wants to make a request. He wants to have an informal, private, off-the-record get-together with a few of us to discuss the next year and the current state of U.S.-China affairs. He asked me to host a social meal at my house in the next month. He was fairly insistent and indicated that he wanted me to pass along some perspectives. Pass along perspectives. Wonder what that means. They're right here. I told him I'd reach out to you all and see about your judgment on this and possible availability. I'm happy to make some chili and cornbread by the fire, but let's first decide whether this makes sense. Please let me know your thinking. Best, Kurt. Now, according to Wikipedia, Campbell formerly served as Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. So if there was ever evidence of collusion, this looks like it could certainly be collusion between the Clinton campaign and the Chinese. Now, we don't have any evidence that this meeting ever actually took place, but that's where you have the investigation. Did it take place? What was the follow-up? So now we have evidence, at least the beginning of evidence, that could bury the Clinton campaign and colluding with the Chinese. What information did they receive? What was the perspectives that were passed along? What type of favors were they going to request in the year ahead, right? If Hillary had become the president of the United States. So clearly they were looking ahead to see what happens in 2017, to see if they can get some political favors. So there you have it. More evidence that the Clintons are criminals. What are your thoughts? Comment below. Subscribe for updates. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up and share this report on your social networks. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franch.
Mr. President, your FBI nominee said if someone in a campaign got an email about Russia like the one that your son Don Jr. received, that they should alert the FBI rather than accept that meeting. Is he wrong? Also, were you misled by your team in not knowing about this meeting? And Mr. President, thank you very much. You have heard President Trump say that it may have been Russia, it may have been others who interfered with the U.S. election. Is President Trump taking a hard enough line on Russia as you see it? Merci.
Well, I'll start off by saying, first of all, I believe that we will have a great FBI director. I think he's doing really well. And we're very proud of that choice. I think I've done a great service to the country by choosing him. He will make us all proud, and I think someday we'll see that, and hopefully someday soon. So we're very proud of him. As far as my son is concerned, my son is a wonderful young man. He took a meeting with a Russian lawyer, not a government lawyer, but a Russian lawyer. It was a short meeting. It was a meeting that went very, very quickly, very fast. Two other people in the room, I guess one of them left almost immediately, and the other one was not really focused on the meeting. I do think this. I think from a practical standpoint, most people would have taken that meeting. It's called opposition research or even research into your opponent. I've had many people. I have only been in politics for 2 years. But I've had many people call up, oh, gee, we have information on this factor or this person or, frankly, Hillary. That's very standard in politics. Politics is not the nicest business in the world, but it's very standard where they have information and you take the information. In the case of Don, he listened. I guess they talked about, as I see it, they talked about adoption and some things. Adoption wasn't even a part of the campaign. But nothing happened from the meeting. Zero happened from the meeting. And honestly, I think the press made a very big deal over something that really a lot of people would do. Now, the lawyer that went to the meeting, I see that she was in the halls of Congress also. Somebody said that her visa or her passport to come into the country was approved by Attorney General Lynch. Now, maybe that's wrong. I just heard that a little while ago, but it's a little surprised to hear that. So she was here because of Lynch. So, again, I have a son who's a great young man. He's a fine person. He took a meeting with a lawyer from Russia. It lasted for a very short period, and nothing came of the meeting. And I think it's a meeting that most people in politics probably would have taken. Mr. President?
Yes, to answer your question, I will.
Bien, pour répondre à votre question, je ne vais pas me mêler à la politique interne des États-Unis. Et je pense que c'est un bon principe que de ne pas interférer dans la vie nationale des autres.
And I do believe that both of us have a relationship with Russia. President Trump had more than 2 hours meeting with President Putin during the past G20, the last G20, and myself, I had 2 very long meetings with President Putin, the very first one in Versailles and the second one during the G20, and this relationship is very important. We have a lot of disagreements. We have a lot of discrepancies, obviously, with Russia. But in the current environment, especially in Middle East, it's a necessity to work together, to exchange information, to share these agreements, and to try to build solutions. So that's my relationship with Russia, and we don't have, obviously, the same relationship as the one with the US, but that's a long-standing relationship with Russia as well, and I think it's important that both of us have direct discussion and contact with President Putin.
One of the great things that came out of that meeting, by the way, even though it's not part of the question, was the fact that we got a ceasefire that now has lasted for, I guess, Mr. President, almost 5 days. And while 5 days doesn't sound like a long period of time, in terms of a ceasefire in Syria, that's a very long period of time. And that was a result of having communication with a country. So during that 5-day period, a lot of lives have been saved. A lot of people were not killed. No shots have been fired in a very, very dangerous part of the world, and this is one of the most dangerous parts of Syria itself. So by having some communication and dialogue, we were able to have a ceasefire, and it's going to go on for a while. And frankly, we're working on a second ceasefire in a very rough part of Syria. And if we get that and a few more, all of a sudden you're going to have no bullets being fired in Syria, and that would be a wonderful thing. Mr. President, you have a question?
Troisième question.
Mr. President, your FBI nominee said if someone in a campaign got an email about Russia like the one that your son Don Jr. received, that they should alert the FBI rather than accept that meeting. Is he wrong? Also, were you misled by your team in not knowing about this meeting? And Mr. President, thank you very much. You have heard President Trump say that it may have been Russia, it may have been others who interfered with the U.S. election. Is President Trump taking a hard enough line on Russia, as you see it? Merci.
Well, I'll start off by saying, first of all, I believe that we will have a great FBI director. I think he's doing really well, and we're very proud of that choice. I think I've done a great service to the country by choosing him. He will make us all proud, and I think someday we'll see that. and hopefully someday soon. So we're very proud of him. As far as my son is concerned, my son is